Mitchell. I'm in the first violins of the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and this is my home in Russell Lea. I was 6.5 when I started playing the violin, and I'd been begging my mum for a year to get me one after I'd heard two girls playing a duet at my primary school. And I failed miserably at ballet, so she was very reluctant to get me into violin. But then when they started some recorder classes in my primary school, and I ripped through the entire book in the space of a week, and the teacher went up to my mum and said, "I think you need to get Alex a bit more of a challenging instrument." And so she relented and finally got me the violin I'd always wanted. That was it. It was on. I was completely obsessed with the violin from the get-go. And by the age of 8, I was getting up at 5 in the morning to practice 2 hours a day before school started, and then more when I got home. So I knew pretty early on that that was all I really wanted to do, which was a little unusual. So I heard Natalie Chi in Adelaide, and my violin teacher, Marie, was very taken with her playing and actually went to my parents and said, "I think this is the kind of sound and musicality that you want to have, so let's find out who her teacher is." And we did, and I ended up coming to Sydney to study with Alexandra. I was pretty self-driven anyway, but moving to Sydney obviously meant that I wanted to make the most of it for everybody that had made the sacrifices to get there. But it was just ultimately the best thing for me. I was able to start playing in the SBS Youth Orchestra, and they gave me the opportunity to play as a concertmaster and soloist for several years running. That was really instrumental in helping me kind of come to fruition, if you like. Yeah, so I won my first professional job at the age of 17. For me, coming into the professional orchestral world was a bit of a shock, because suddenly I had to be very conscious of everyone's sound around me, and I felt a little bit like I had to hide. And in going from a sort of more solo capacity to orchestral one, I started to get quite nervous. And around the age of 18, I had glandular fever, and I really, for a time there, questioned whether or not it was the right thing for me. But I had one of the SSO section members encourage me to audition for the fellowship. So I did, and I became the first violin fellow, and then about 3 months later I won my job with the Symphony. So I was pretty overwhelmed in the first year, I have to be completely honest. There's a big difference between rehearsing a program and then playing it many, many times than playing one new program every single week. And so getting my head around the idea that we'd only rehearse for 2.5 days and then we were on was a bit stressful. But despite the steep learning curve, I actually ended up really loving the variety of that, and slowly build the confidence to play out more and not feel the need to hide quite so much. Yeah, that's how it all happened. This violin is a 1932 Pedrazzini, and it was very kindly lent to me through the Sydney Symphony. It's the most lovely instrument I've ever had the fortune to play. It's got an incredibly resonant sound, and it really cuts through in the section, so I can be very conscious of my own sound, which ultimately is incredibly gratifying. So I have some very long-standing friendships, which is fantastic. Coming back after holidays, it feels like you're coming home. It's a funny thing. It's a lovely thing.